know this is a very sensitive topic, but I approach this from an analytic standpoint and really a financial and economic standpoint more than anything. You'll see that in the presentation. Imagine you are a 19-year-old college girl. You just finished your second semester here, and you're having the time of your life with your 4 best friends in Chitwood Hall, and you hang out every day. And midway through the spring, you realize, like, huh, I'm a little bigger than normal. You're like, you go get tested, you know, whatever. You're pregnant, right? With this random guy you met at this bar in Lubbock. You know how that goes, about a few months prior. And now you have to have a kid with this guy you don't know, and you have to because Lubbock law said you can get sued if you don't. And that is what we're here to talk about today, is why these Lubbock laws can allow anyone to sue a family member. A family member can sue the person getting an abortion, or the driver. We'll talk about that later. That's crazy. All right. Why should you listen to me? I've done a lot of research on the topic, and to be honest, I'm not a woman though. Like, as you can tell, like, I don't have that experience, but I do have data and analytics, and that is what I'm basing my presentation on, and that is why I have strong factual-based data. Women versus lawsuits. So, the Republican government in particular, and the Democratic government, all of them preach my body, my choice about 2 different things. It's pretty funny. The Republicans are really adamant on the vaccine lately, but Democrats really care about birth control and abortions. And it goes both ways. They both have very interesting stances on their bodies, but they only care about this, not the other one, which is very funny to me because I don't know. I feel like the Republican stance, particularly you're caring about a vaccine that's not going to hurt you, but you're also caring about how other women are having babies instead of as a needle versus a child. I mean, we'll get into the costs of a vaccine which is free versus a child later. But think about it, vaccine mindset though. But why is the government that is saying you don't have to get vaccinated saying I have a choice on your child? I have a decision over your child and your body and whether you can have it or not. Abortion laws. You can sue anyone who assists. Assist means if you call an Uber driver to come pick you up to go to the Planned Parenthood, they can sue the Uber driver for taking you. And Uber and Lyft had actually released a sweeping statement on it and said we will defend all of our drivers in court over these allegations. And they said we'll take any lawsuit on the matter. So they're ready to go to the courtroom with this. So stay tuned if that happens. But so yeah. No exception for rape or incest. They don't care. You're forced to have the child. It's the law. You can look it up. It's how they're making it. So, private lawsuits, as I said, it's the way this is working, and you know the famous Roe v. Wade court suit. That they're getting around it by private lawsuits. So basically, the government's not going after you. It's your friends. It's your family. Like that's how they're getting you. It's way different. It's way more personal. Way more, aggressive, honestly. But yeah, you get 10 grand minimum and your lawyer fees paid for with a win. And then typically if you lose the court case, you don't have to pay lawyer fees anyway. So you're basically like, it's a free shot of money you can take for suing your family members for not having a kid. That's the rules. And the honest, you have a smaller chance, you got the same chance OJ did. You gotta have his defense team if you're gonna pull this off. I really don't think because of Roe v. Wade you're gonna be able to actually sue. Like, you would never win, realistically. But if you could, you'd be the first, you'd be documented, it'd be like a Supreme Court case, but probably not. Got this from Texas Tribune, by the way, from my source. Abortion costs $480 on average. You're probably like, that's a lot of money for one thing, but not really, but to some people, it is. And that's the people we're focused on today, the impoverished for the most part. So, over 1/3 of an impoverished person's monthly income for an abortion. So you're asking them to commit that amount of money to just getting rid of their problem. And if they can't afford it, they're like, well, guess I'm having a kid. And that costs a lot more, we'll get to that. But source, Women's Health, but yes, messes up the income stream for the ghetto community like, as a whole. Like, it just destroys it, having to get an abortion. Like, it's tragic. Because it costs $233 grand for a kid. And I mean, that's a lot less than a lot more than 480, you know? I mean, but here's the thing, the government is trying to make you commit to paying $233K even if you don't want to, because they said you have to have a kid. Which is again, the dilemma here. Does the government have a say? You know, that's been talked about for a while now. And I think obviously no, judging by the presentation, right? But yeah, decide for yourselves. Vote on it, probably. Source bank rate for that. Poverty pregnancy rate. 22 grand for a family of 3. Can you imagine living under 22 grand for 3 people? It's crazy. But so impoverished women have a 5 times higher pregnancy rate than people making 200% of poverty. And that's only 42 grand as a family, or 44 grand as a family. But yeah, still, that's not crazy for 3 people. But those people are still getting pregnant 200% less, or no, 5 times less than people under poverty. So bad finances equals more likely to abort. If those people can't get abortions, their finances steamroll, and it just keeps going. And they keep repeating and living in the process of poverty, and they don't get out of it because they can't. Because they keep having kids, they can't abort them because they get pregnant 5 times as fast as a rich person who's not dropping $233K on a kid like that. I mean, that's just how it works. If you take away the abortions, that number skyrockets. And you'll see the result of that as more impoverished people in America and the rich to stay richer. So we'll look at the wage gap to increase if this law continues. But it puts women in poverty, as I said. It just keeps the cycle going. I can't emphasize that enough. Source, government info. Literally, just a government provided document. But creating a cycle of poverty. So you have to know that they've done economic background checks on this. They know what it's going to do to people and how it's going to destroy them. And a lot of it, times you got to think, is it them, the rich, trying to stay rich? Because they would essentially force a lot of people in poverty to stay there, and they would essentially keep making money off them through their money-making methods. And they stay rich and they stay broke, and everyone stays happy, right, from their point of view. So got to look at it from every angle, including the lawmakers. Hyde Amendment. Basically, the grandfather of all abortion restriction clauses. Insurance doesn't get covered by any. You can't cover an abortion with insurance. You got to pay for it out of pocket for the most part. If you have government insurance, at least, which poor people do because they can't afford nice stuff. So it made abortions a privilege, and it helps the repetition of poverty cycle and cycle and cycle. Because again, they can't afford an abortion. Oh, sorry, here's a $233 grand bill instead. And that source is Gumwatch or whatever that is, Sullivan Company or not. But big picture, let women choose. We live in the future. We live in a time we should celebrate. We have the scientific advantage of being able to do this and being able to not have children. The Earth's population is going to level out around the year 2100. We're going to hit the max population anyway. We don't need these people, to be honest with you. Quite frankly, we don't. I'm willing personally to live with the loss of the Nobel Prize winners we would lose from these low impoverished people who have a terrible childhood most likely, and work for a better society as a whole in the world. So yes, thank you, and let's work towards a world